Here I stand as a strong black man, having done all I can to please my fellow man. I don't understand why that knife is in your hand. After doing all I can as a strong black man, I'm gonna take my stand as a black man. I will do the best that I can as a black man. I stand on my own as a black man. I'm gonna sing my song.
Hello, everyone. I'm Valerie Kelly Bonner, Executive Director and founder of SOAR. SOAR has been around for 25 years doing harm reduction work, HIV work, and life skills. Over the last couple of years, we embarked upon the subject of mental health because it's the story of a young man that I grew up with in my small town of Inkster, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit, who was a rapper, a leader in the community, a father who had a long journey to get to where he was. But I never looked at him once as someone who was struggling with mental health until he disclosed it. And that's how the podcast came about, Black Man Heal. Say how you feel, brother, because it was based off the documentary we did about Udadan's life and his struggle with mental health. As a part of that journey, we were blessed to have the presence of an Ohio State intern who is a Black man and a social worker, Jarel.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here to intern with you all to learn more about and dive deeper into the mental health atmosphere, because as someone who struggles with mental health, I think it's very important to talk about it, especially within the Black male community, because I know that we're not always the most vulnerable community, but being someone who struggles with mental health issues himself, I think that being a representative of that community and speaking out about it will encourage other Black men to speak about it. So I'm excited and honored to be here to talk more about mental health. Like Valerie said, my name is Jarel McRae. I am a graduate student at The Ohio State University, majoring in social work, obviously, and with an emphasis in mental health and drug misuse. I'm also an educator, so in the future, I plan to combine both my education and mental health into something together to be a mental health educator, to educate everyone about the importance of speaking out about your mental health. Especially Black men. So yes, I'm really excited to be here and talk and dive more into the mental health sphere. So thank you.
Well, we are excited to kick this journey off of yours by doing the podcast. So let's just get into it. Let's just have this mental health conversation.
Yeah, so today I kind of want to talk about the power of vulnerability. Because as I mentioned, it's hard for Black men to be vulnerable with people. I think the world has this stigma, or the stigma is put on Black men to be hard and be tough and to be rough. So we don't always open up when we need to. I think a lot of that stems from, racism, and then what now is toxic masculinity. So it doesn't allow men the opportunity to open up and be vulnerable with people when they need to. So when things are happening in their lives, such as, struggling financially or struggling emotionally or even grieving, men don't always open up to say, like, something's wrong with me. Because deep down inside, you could be suffering with depression or really bad anxiety, or even like bipolar disorder, or sometimes even eating disorders. And then you may disguise it as something else, which usually is like anger. I have found out. So I thought that today we could dive more into vulnerability and what that actually means. There are statistics out there about Black men being like having 16, which is to say right here, around 16% of Black Americans live with a mental health condition. And when you think about the grand scheme of it, there's 325 million people that live in the United States. And out of that 325 million people, about 10% of that is Black people. So around 32 million of us. And then 16% of that 32 million is around, you know,
half a million.
half a million. Really, people sit here silently struggling with vulnerability. So I kind of want to talk about what vulnerability is, and some misconceptions about it, and then kind of dive into like our own ways of being vulnerable and whatnot. So kind of kick us off. For all those who may not know what vulnerability is, your vulnerability. I want the actual definition. I don't want to mess this up. So vulnerability refers to the willingness and ability to openly express emotion, thoughts, and experiences, especially those that involve discomfort, fear, shame, or pain without the fear of judgment. And I think for me personally, I think the hardest thing for me is like having someone to actually listen when I do want to be vulnerable. Not every chance that I have. Not every time I'm venting or letting it out, I want a response. I just want somebody to like listen and actually care. And I think when it comes to Black men, I think a lot of people don't care, or they don't listen. So which stops Black men from actually, speaking out about it and whatnot. And I think that the first time that I ever had to be vulnerable was with my own depression. When I was in undergrad, I was really sad. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It was just felt like everything was like a gray cloud over me, and I continued to go to class and do things, but I wasn't happy. And I was like, there's something wrong. So I remember texting one of my friends. It's like, hey, I think I have depression. After like Googling what depression was and stuff, I was like, I think this is what I have. And then I remember her saying like, we're in school, everyone has depression. And I'm like, I think that's different. I think there's like a period where you feel depressed, but then there's a constant feeling of depression. And I think that's what I have. So then I like never talked about it ever again. So I kind of left it in because that was my way of being vulnerable, opening it up to somebody and saying like, hey, I think I have this. And them kind of like shutting me out. And then I was like, no, I'm still sad. It's 2 years later, and I still feel the same way I felt 2 years later. What do I do? And that's when I went to campus and realized that like there's counselors there, and I could talk to one of them, and kind of talking to him and kind of figuring out what was going on kind of helped me like then saying, okay, I can talk to people, and I can be a little bit more vulnerable and open up when I need to in that sense. So that is kind of what started my whole being vulnerable and being open. Yeah.
I can do some justice for that conversation that you shared, because when I think about Black men in general, under the leadership of a Black woman, whether it's a mother, an aunt, or a strong figure in your family, we shut you down early on, because as a little boy, you fall down and you scar your knee or something and you cry, and we be like, you a boy, get up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Brush it off. Don't cry. Yeah. And it's like, no, he bleeding. Yeah. What the hell are you talking about? He bleeding and he hurt. And so it starts way back. Yeah. Us shutting down your vulnerability and shutting down the opportunity for you to even share that something is wrong, yes, that I'm sad, that I'm hurt, that I feel some type of way. And then that morphs into relationships with women, whether that is a mother, a girlfriend, or something like that. I'll apologize to all Black men because I have victimized you by saying, you don't show enough emotion, and you don't, you don't do this and you don't do that. But then when you do it, I'll be like, oh, yo, weak ass, what you over here crying for? Like, what you crying for? So crying and showing emotion is something you were never allowed to do. That was taboo to society. And in the Black household, you were not allowed to do it. You've never seen it. Because men conditioned all the way back to slavery weren't allowed to, they were buck breaking in front of women. Yep. And you were just supposed to take that because you didn't want to show that vulnerability to the master or the mother. So you stood there and you just accepted it. Yes. And that morphed into where we are today, where Black men really don't want to show their vulnerability as a result of being ostracized, being criticized, being judged, being stereotyped. And all of that comes to one term in my mind: stigma.
Yes.
And that has a lot to do with not feeling comfortable, being vulnerable, and sharing your most intimate feelings of depression, anxiety, suffering, pain. You really walk around like nobody cares to hear this. So why should I say anything? Because all they do is judge me or criticize me. I feel worse, not better, by even saying something about it. Yeah. So for that, I apologize, because I know I am guilty of it. Being a very strong, independent Black woman, I know for a fact that I have diminished men in that regard, where it caused some intimidation, whether they want to admit it or not. That's what it was, because they did not want to feel less than a man because they are sharing their intimate feelings with me. And perhaps I'm already making more than them or doing more than them. And so now I'm supposed to come and tell this powerful, strong Black woman that's doing all of this stuff now that I want to cry.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to say anything.
Well, I appreciate you saying that and, apologizing for it. Because, I think like you mentioned, I think a small part of the issue sometimes does come from some Black women and the stigma that they put on us and the pressure that they put on us to be Black men, and what it means to be a man, and what it means to lead a household, or what it means to provide. And a lot of that can be hard, can be a lot of pressure on a man, especially if he's still trying to figure it out, and then you're adding extra fuel to the way that they're feeling, and they're not allowed to express themselves and say like, "Hey, this is going on," which is why earlier on I mentioned the financial piece, because a lot of people's, I feel like, sadness or depression, anxiety comes from not being able to pay for something, and a financial strain does cause people to feel that way. And then if a man feels like he cannot provide for his family, that causes eternal conflict inside of them. And they're questioning who they are. They're questioning their manhood, or whatever this manhood is supposed
depiction
to be.
Of it, what it's supposed to be. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Yes,
because there is an expectation of what a man is supposed to be, or what a Black man is supposed to be. And that is really far from the truth.
Yes, it is.
It is be who you are, and then you find a companion who can accept who you are, and the rest of the world shouldn't even matter. Yes. But that's not how this goes. And even as a Black man in society, you got to deal with driving while Black, not just being Black. Yeah. So being Black at home and not having enough money to take care of your household. But now I'm going out to try to find a way to take care of my household. But now I'm driving while Black. I'm getting turned down by every employer because I'm Black. Mm-hmm. I might land a job, but I have a white male boss who talk shit to me because I'm Black and thinks that I'm less than. So a Black man needs peace in the home, because when he steps outside of the home, he is fighting so many battles and so many wars that we don't even know about or think about every day, because we don't have to worry about what the world stereotypically thinks of us as Black women as often as Black men do. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that compounds everything. Yes. And then the materialism, don't have kids. Now it's like the kids want the latest Jordans and the Xbox and all of these other things. And you want to provide for your kids. However, sometimes you're incapable because of financial constraints. And so all of that is on the shoulders of Black men.
It is. So, I think going back to vulnerability, and I think for Black men, what Black men need to do in order to be vulnerable, I think they actually need to have honest conversations with themselves and kind of pinpoint where the problem is, where the issue may be lying at, and like what's making them, feel this discomfort. I think a lot of it is the fact of the external world getting inside their heads, and then they need to shut out the external world and kind of say, okay, what do I need, and how do I feel, and how do I express this out to other people? What are the best ways? And I think but I think men in general, but really black men, I think they say things, but they don't say things. So they'll say, for instance, I'll use myself like, oh, Jarel, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm tired. Instead of saying the true issue, which is, Jarel, why are you tired? I'm tired because I'm working full time. I'm going to school. I'm doing a practicum. I'm working on other business. That is why I'm tired. Not tired because I'm sleepy. I'm tired because I have 50 million things that I'm doing in the background. But not being, and I think that men just need to just say exactly how they feel, not just a piece of how they feel. But also they need the spaces to allow to do that. So that means if they're not vulnerable with the person that they love, who are they going to be vulnerable with? Like if they have a group of black men friends, they may not be vulnerable with each other because then they're gonna be like, oh, like
you soft,
right. Why are you talking about your feelings? Like, no, all y'all need to talk about your feelings. I say that with my best friend. Like when I'm not gonna tell you, but when he was going through something, I'm like, you know that you can tell me how you feel, right? Like I'm literally the space for you to tell me exactly how you feel. Like, I see that you're upset. I know that you're upset, and I know that you're beating around the bush. So just tell me right now how you feel so you can let it out, so you don't have to hold that inside.
But it's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
When you're not used to it.
You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It is what, I mean, it's in order for you to be vulnerable, you have to allow yourself to actually be, you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you just randomly are sitting at the dinner table and you blurt out, I'm like mad or sad about X, Y, Z, and you're like, where the heck is this coming from? At least you let it out. And then you can have a deeper conversation. But I think that, once again, it goes back to someone else they need to find someone who will listen and allow them that space to do that. But black men also, once again, pinpointing where what is the underlying issue so they can actually so they can articulate why they are feeling the way that they're feeling, and not kind of beating around the bush when it comes to that vulnerability part. Because vulnerability really does, it allows you to start trusting people and like building strengthening your relationships that you have with people and whatnot, which is why, when you're married or in a relationship, usually someone wants you to be vulnerable with them. You can be vulnerable with me. You can tell me how you feel and stuff. It's like, that's why, I mean, sometimes, things get rocky because it's like somebody's hiding something's wrong, and you're not telling me what's wrong.
Yeah, I've been through that, especially with my gentleman now. Getting into a new relationship later. Like when you're younger and you're in a relationship, both of you are morphing into who you want to be at the same time of being a couple. Yes. But when you get older,
you're already who you are.
Like I'm 60 and he's 72.
Yeah.
So we are who we are.
Yes.
And I want to talk about how he feels. And I can tell by his body language and stuff that something's going on. But he'll just be like, I'm all right, or not want to talk about it.
Yeah. And
it's all right.
And that's the issue too. It's like not talking about it causes the eternal feeling that you are feeling. Mm-hmm. It causes that confusion and that frustration and stuff. And
it comes out one day, like you said. And when you said the dinner table, that was a trigger for me because I've had that happen.
Yeah.
To be something really, really simple. He's like, well, just blurt out. And I'm like, what the hell going on? Where's that coming from? Like, whoa, I just asked for a chip, or whatever.
And that chip triggers something else.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, you need to, now it's a bigger conversation because now why are you getting triggered by the word chips? It's like, hold on. All I ask you to do is pass me potatoes. And now you are.
Yeah. But then it all comes out. Then the word vomit begins. And it all comes out. And it's like, whoa, you've been holding all of that in about me all of this time. So then I end up feeling some type of way. Yes. But I have to remember, like, no, that's just how men are. He did hold this in.
But that shouldn't be that.
And it shouldn't be that. But when we're talking about vulnerability and the power of it, don't take away the power from them being vulnerable in that moment by making it about you as a woman or as a listener. Just listen, because it's not, oh, you've been feeling this way about me all of this time. It is with a different tone. I have been feeling this way about you all this time, but I didn't have the courage enough to say
it. Yeah.
Not, I've been feeling this way all this time and I really don't like you. That's not what's coming out. It's, I have been holding this for a long time because I didn't have the courage to say, because I didn't want it to turn into what it is right now.
Yeah.
So I just rather say nothing.
So what would you say? Well, how do you? I think you just answered my question actually. So what would you suggest Black women continue to do to be a listening ear for Black men?
I think we have to calm down. Listening is a skill. It's an art.
Mm-hmm.
Women, especially in a heated argument, debate, or discussion, we are listening to respond.
Mm-hmm.
We are not listening to understand where this is coming from, understand how you feeling in that moment, or understand anything. We waiting on you to finish so we can talk. And sometimes we don't wait on you to finish. We just gonna cut you off and get right into it. We must understand that it is about us only and it's not about us personally. Mm-hmm. It is about us in the role of being a mate, being understanding, and trying to nurture this one opportunity that we shouldn't blow by judging,
mm-hmm.
by criticizing, and diminishing. Listen to understand where they are coming from. And at that point, ask questions and make sure that they are right. And if you don't know how to handle that, if you're angry and you feel some type of way, it's okay to not say anything then.
Yes.
Just say, you know what? I feel some type of way about this. So can I take a couple of hours or so? I just need to process this. We don't wait to process stuff. We make it about us. Like, well, you just said that and I. That's all we hear. It's like a personal attack. Yes. When it's not really about that. And, using a scenario about the bills, you're like, well, I have a lot of pressure because, you're asking me for things. The kids is asking me for stuff. The bills are due or whatever. What the woman is hearing is, oh, so you ain't trying to handle your responsibilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, we asking you. Where else we going to get it from?
Right.
You the man of the house, aren't you? We don't hear that you're saying this is a lot of pressure. I'm doing the best I can to do this. And as fast as I bring the money in, you're spending it. Yeah. Let's come up with a better plan to make this family run. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Yes, I am letting you stay home to watch the kids, or I'm letting you live your dream as an entrepreneur or whatever, where I'm living a nightmare in this world every day. Can we both be okay?
Right.
So it's going to take a lot for women to retrain themselves. We talk a lot, too much at the wrong time. Yeah. So we have to learn how to listen, to understand, mm-hmm. and identify with what the man is saying. Yeah. Because you get one chance, not two. If he opens up to you and he's vulnerable and you get one chance, because if you blow that, he is never doing that again.
They never doing it again. And I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, as Black men, you can, if someone does it, if someone disregards or belittles your experience and whatnot, you do have the opportunity to be like, okay, I just want to open up to this person. But mm-hmm. that does not mean that you can't be vulnerable and open up to someone else. Maybe that person is not receptive enough at this current moment to receive it. Also understanding that, like, not everyone has the mental capability at the moment to respond the way that you need them to respond. So as you mentioned, like, yes, it's okay to take a step back and coming back to the conversation. But once again, you as a man have to be willing to continue the conversation. I think usually what we do is we want to talk about it right now. And if you can't talk about it right now, I'm not talking about it later, because mm-hmm. there's no need for me to talk about it later. Mm-hmm. I opened the door and the floor for us to talk about this right now. If you cannot receive it right now, then, oh well, we got to do it. And you can't necessarily do that. Everyone does not have the mental capability or the capability at that current moment sometimes to be what you need as far as like a response. But if you need to let it out and have a conversation, then you just do your one monologue and let that person sit down and listen to whatever you have to say. And then after you're done speaking, I think that goes back once again, communication and communicating like, hey, let's return back to this conversation when I can process what you just said, because a lot of what you just said is a trauma dump, can be a trauma dump. That's a disclaimer on people. I had a situation with someone who I thought was my friend, where I expressed myself being uncomfortable with a situation, and then they basically attacked me for opening it up and saying, this situation that you put me in made me uncomfortable, made me feel weird. And then he was questioning our friendship because of that. And I'm kind of like, I was just being vulnerable with you and saying that this made me feel weird and whatnot. And now you're saying that I disrespected you and I'm fake.
Wow.
Because of what I said to you. And now you can't be my friend because I opened up to you. I don't understand. I'm confused here. But once again, knowing how to navigate the conversations, I didn't say you made me feel this way. I said that I feel, uncomfortable I feel uncomfortable in this situation at this current moment. I don't know how to handle it. Always using I terms, never putting the blame on anybody else, just saying this is how I feel. And then for you to retaliate and saying that I'm fake or I made you, disrespected you or whatever capacity, made me realize like, okay, well, you're not somebody that one needs to be in my life. And two, that I could ever be vulnerable with, because I just told you about how I'm feeling and you're not really receptive of it. And then knowing that I can just, not taking it to heart, just going to somebody else and being vulnerable and expressing like how I'm feeling and whatnot. But you're just not the person to do that. And that's okay, because everybody's not going, you can't do it. You can't tell everybody how you feel. You can't do it.
What I thought about is two things. It's okay not to be okay.
It's not, yes.
But here's the thing. If someone comes to you and they are not okay, and even if that conversation lends to them not being okay with you, you don't have to understand, or agree with anything that's said or done, but you owe them respect.
You owe them, yes.
And that was the thing with him. Like, he just got disrespectful. It's like, no, you just still owe respect. That's it. It is hard to listen to criticism of ourselves. Mm-hmm. It is hard to, we can use the election, for instance. If you disagree with what someone is saying, their view, their stance or whatever, people get really aggressive and defensive with that, instead of just listening and say, hey, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And I don't understand it, but I respect you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for trusting me enough to share, because that's what this boils down to.
It's trust.
If someone gets to the point where they can be vulnerable with you, you should feel great that they trusted you enough to do that.
Yep, I agree.
That is a badge of honor. Like, wow, you just poured your heart out to me. Right. Thank you. Thank you for even trusting me enough to do that.
Yeah. Like, I had another situation with another friend, was holding on to a secret for a very long time and decided to tell me. And I felt honored that they did that. I mean, they was going through it and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm glad that you was able to come, that out of all your friends, you were aware, like, oh, Jarel is the one who I want, that I need to tell this to, because I trust him and I know that he will listen and whatnot. And, finding him the resources that he needed and whatnot, so he can get through whatever he was going through and whatnot. I mean, like you said, it does make you feel good. It's like, oh, this is a badge of honor. Like, oh, you trust me with you didn't tell anybody your little secret or whatever, or you tried to, and like, here I am. You found a safe space in me. Well, I don't think safe spaces exist. You found a brave space in me to speak up and to be vulnerable, because that's what I try to be. I try to be a brave space for people. Safe spaces you can't always guarantee that someone's going to keep your secret in a safe space. But a brave space allows you the opportunity to speak up and be brave and have the courage to speak about what you want. So I try to be that to everyone that wants me to be. So, I mean, you come to me, tell me whatever you need to tell me. And I'm going to allow you the opportunity to do it. Most times I'm just going to listen. A lot of times my friends want me to, because my friends are the ones who always come to me, I guess. or sometimes they want me to speak out, to give them a response and whatnot. Because sometimes people do want that, and I think for men, if that's what you want, if you want a conversation with somebody, you need to say that. If you want somebody to just listen, just say that, because that's what I do. I'm like, I just need somebody to listen to me real quick. I need to let this out. I'm angry about something. I need to let it out. I'm gonna send you a 10-minute voice note, and you can listen to it whenever you want to listen to it. Or I would say, I actually don't want a response to this, so don't respond. I just need to just let it out. But can you please respond? Or
I ask if someone say, you know what, I got to tell you something or whatever, and I listen to them, give them my full undivided attention, and then I'll say, would you like for me to respond?
Yeah, that's also the way.
I ask, do you want an answer? Do you want me to respond? Or what would you like for me to do?
Yeah.
And if they say nothing, okay. If they say, give me your advice, okay.
Yeah.
I had there was an incident within my team this week, and they called and they explained what happened on site. And I'm thinking like, okay, I don't know what to say. So I was like, well, what would you like for me to do? And she said nothing. I just wanted you to know. Fine.
Yeah.
And I think if you ask that question, you don't leave the conversation as the listener feeling burdened, like, man, they just said all of that. They all right? What's going on? Ask, what would you like for me to do?
Right.
Is it any way that I can help? And they might say nothing. Now, I just wanted to get it off my chest.
And then just let them have it.
Yeah.
Everyone does not necessarily want it. But I think, once again, it boils down to communication, and then you having that trust in that person, and you figuring out what you are actually feeling in order for you to even express out loud how to even be vulnerable. And I think with that is, what are the steps to being vulnerable? Because I think that's probably what people want to know. Like, what are the steps to be vulnerable? And you mentioned one of them, which is trust. And creating it and finding that trust system, and having a group of people that that you can trust and be open with and being vulnerable with in any type of situation. And they don't always need to be a group of people. You can have one person that may be like an associate. I'm just saying that just listens to things and won't tell anybody, and you feel that trust and stuff in that person. You can do that. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a partner, whoever it may be. But I think that you need to find a network of people that you can trust in, so you can have that space to actually open up and be vulnerable. And they won't judge you, because once again, when it comes to vulnerability, you're looking for someone who won't judge you, and won't criticize you or belittle you or make you feel bad for the way that you're feeling.
Well, I've had some situations, and everybody has a purpose. Yeah. And so I have people that I know I can talk to and that I can trust, and it's a safe space. It's a brave space. Then I have some people that I know if I tell them, they're going to tell everybody. And I use them too. If I'm feeling some type of way about something and I just want everybody to know without me having to say anything,
tell that person.
Then just tell that person. So this works in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Right? Because they're going to tell everybody for you, and you don't have to say anything. Because as soon as this phrase triggers people, I'm going to tell you something. But don't tell nobody.
And now you want to tell everybody. Now you like, why would you tell me that? Now I want to tell. Like, now who am I supposed to tell?
So all you got to do is say that, and the word gets out. But, there's a lot of truth into all of this. Know people's purpose in your life.
Yes.
You don't want to wait until you share your most vulnerable moment and how you're feeling about something to learn who that person really is or what their role is in your life. Mm-hmm. You got to do a lot of evaluation of people who you have around you, so you know who you can be vulnerable with.
And just because you trusted somebody when you were 18 years old does not mean when you are in your 30s you trust them again, because people continue to grow and they change. And like you said, the purpose in your life changes. Mm-hmm. So, there's people in my life that I trusted when I was in my 20s, and I'm kind of like, I wouldn't trust you with nothing now. Or so it's like, you got to know where they are, and then can constantly evaluate who they are.
Absolutely.
Which means my second thing is practice self-awareness and mindfulness. So being self-aware of who you are and being aware of the things that people are saying to you and whatnot, not meaning taking everything that someone says about you to heart. But being aware and evaluating yourself eternally and being saying, okay, maybe they did say that, every time that they say, yeah, I'm just teasing about the potatoes, but like the potatoes, I get triggered and I get angry. So why is that? Like just evaluating yourself. And then mindfulness part of that, doing some mindfulness activities, such as journaling. So right now, how you feel. When I worked at one university, we gave our Black men journals, and we told them to use that however you please. So if you like to write raps in it. If you like poetry, write a poem. If you like drawing, draw in it. Whatever you need to do to express yourself in whatever creative capacity that you want to. This is what this journal is for. Also, people do things like coloring is one mindfulness activity. So I'll put my headphones on, put the sound cancellation on, play some music, and then color. I bought a crap ton of crayons and color pencils and markers and paint and stuff. And I just have my Black man coloring book, and I just color. I also have my superhero coloring books too. Whatever you need to do. A lot of men play video games, so that is also mindfulness, but also monitoring your anger level. Don't let the game anger you. It's supposed to be mindfulness. But also, puzzles are another way that you do that.
I love puzzles. I do them every night.
Do a puzzle. My mom does Sudoku. But whatever it is that is mindfulness that does not have your brain like constantly running and stuff. So maybe video games may not be it if you have to think. But anything that just that eases you and makes
gives you an outlet and not contribute to the angst that you got in that moment. Like It's supposed to be an outlet. So
working out, a lot of men go to the gym to work out. Working out releases that dopamine that you need to kind of make you feel happy and feel good, and also lets out the energy that you have built up inside and those emotions. So just being self-aware, practice that self-awareness, and then mindfulness is also the second part of being vulnerable. These are my opinion. Yeah. And then the last thing here, the last steps to being vulnerable is seeking therapy and professional help. So that's the final step. I feel like I know that in the Black community as a whole, there was a stigma around talking to a therapist because Black folk, we always talk about pray it away.
Yes,
pray it away.
Lord.
Like praying is wonderful. It's amazing. It's great. But we are human. We are down here, and God is not going to tell you, or whoever you believe is not going to tell you to pray to them and not provide you the source to get the help that you actually need. Sometimes the prayer is telling you to go to therapy. Talking to someone is not going to be against anybody's religion. They're not doing anything that's against your religion. So, I mean, if they are, then you probably need to go find a different therapist. But seeking that professional help, seeking therapy, counseling, whatever you need, will help. In the long run, having that, because they are legally not allowed to tell anybody, so you can tell them anything. And there's also some exceptions, but
you can't say I'm gonna kill somebody tonight.
Right,
they do have a duty to report, but you can share your mental and emotional anguish with them.
Yes.
And you talked about religiosity, Christianity. A lot of pastors need therapy themselves.
Yes.
They are within that spectrum, masks were being worn before COVID.
Oh, yes.
Because they were totally not who they appeared to be.
Yes.
And so you have to be careful with that too. I push back a lot when people say the Lord told me to tell you. No, he didn't tell you to tell me nothing.
Because he would come to me directly.
Exactly.
I have that direct line.
Exactly. And I'm the first one to be like, oh, he ain't tell you to tell me shit. Because I can talk to him myself. So go on now with that.
Yeah.
And so, again, that trust factor, you have to be able to trust, and there are a lot of ways to vet that, and you will know. So you're absolutely right. Seeking professional help is one. And I must add, with seeking professional help, the first therapist that you see might not be the right therapist. You have to vet everyone. And go along with what you feel most comfortable with. Not that they disagree with something you're doing. That's not what I mean. But I'm saying the first couple of sessions you go to, you're not going to feel great when you leave.
Yep.
Because they're pulling out all of this stuff from your past and things that make you feel uncomfortable. However, you should start to turn that corner on session 4,
Yeah.
and if you're not, then you need to reevaluate if this is the right therapist for you. There are going to be some things that make you feel uncomfortable. If you're not used to meditating, if you're not used to journaling, if you're against medication, it's a lot of things that can be said or suggested in that space that you're not comfortable with. But remember, this is your life. This is your session. This is your time. And have that discussion. Don't just walk out like, she crazy as hell. I ain't getting right color.
Right.
Whatever. Just be like, I'm not really into coloring. Can you suggest something else? And have that conversation. Even though your emotions and your mental health is out of control, you still need to control what you can. And that is what you're going to participate in and be effective.
Back to the therapist piece, you said you were talking about the therapist and what in the sessions and around 4, session 4, like you'll see a turning point and stuff. But also just remembering that when you go to therapy, it is like a relationship. So you're going in there and then you still have to still connect with them and vibe with them and whatnot. So don't think that you're going to go into the session and then you're going to get everything that you need in the first session and then you're never going to come back again. No, it's not like that. So you are going to have to vet your therapist and make sure that you actually like them and stuff. I went through 3 different therapists. All were great. All brought me different pieces of what I actually needed to help me be a better person. But I need someone that's going to be able to connect all of my pieces together. I had a white woman therapist who was phenomenal and helped me with my communication skills. Then I had a black woman therapist. I had 2 black women therapists who kind of helped me with my emotional pieces and kind of helped me with my relationships in my life and whatnot. Now I'm just kind of like looking for like someone that can help me with all pieces, so I don't have to keep bouncing from person to person to person. So it's going to be it's work to find a therapist that meets your needs. So don't give up because you just found you went to one therapist, you like, oh, they suck, da 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 da. No, you find the person that works best for you. They're all not going to work. Just like friends are not going to work. Therapists are not going to work. Not all therapists are going to work for you. And then it's also see what they specialize in. Sometimes they may not specialize in what you want. Granted, therapists are holistic and work in every aspect of mental health for the most part. However, there are some who dive deeper into specific topics. So looking into that, I think that if you're a black man and you want a black male therapist, that is great and that is awesome because they can be more relatable to your experiences and who you are as an individual. I found that out when I had my black women therapist. I was like, you're a black woman and you're providing me this space and you're providing me this opportunity to speak and you're great and you're giving me everything that I need, but you're not a man. So like I'm telling you certain things and then you're saying, and yes, it's great. Like you understand from perspective because you're married to a black man, you have a black son and you get it. But being a black man is a different thing. So now I'm on a journey to find a black male therapist to help me in that aspect of my life because that's what I need right now. And it's okay to have seasonal therapists. Like right now I need this, and then thank you for your help, and go on to the next one. So I just want to add that extra piece to the therapist piece. So when you are seeking professional help and you are seeking a therapist or a counselor, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on them. It's going to be a process to find the one that you need. So, yeah, there's that. But I think we're concluding, or we're kind of close to time now. And just some final thoughts. I want to make sure that everyone knows, like, to be vulnerable, it's going to be once again a process. And take small steps. No one is telling you to be me and open up your mouth and run and just be vulnerable with everything, everybody, every single moment. But, picking and choosing, like testing the waters out, having one small conversation with somebody about how you're feeling and then seeing how they respond and then evaluating that. And then next thing you know, add an extra layer to that and then saying, okay, I was vulnerable with them in this one piece. Let me see if I can do it another. Kind of like, once again, vetting the people, vetting your network of trust people. People that you trust to see who you can be vulnerable with and who you cannot be vulnerable with. I think it's important. And then find your mindfulness activity and practice your self-awareness. So buy yourself a journal if you want to do that. Get yourself a puzzle, color, listening to music, whatever it may be. Going on a walk, going to the gym is great, but adding that extra layer to that mindfulness, I think will help you on this journey to be vulnerable. I really do think journaling is the best way to do that. If you don't want to physically journal, you can also voice journal. So you can use your voice notes to record yourself and how you feel. Or you could do a video one. I have done all three. A physical one, I've done voice, and I've done a video journal before. Also, sometimes you can use your iPad. There's apps out there where you can journal and write and do all the things I just mentioned in one little app, and it will lock it for you. So you can have like a password on it, everything. So the only person who has access to it is you. And then you can go back and reflect on all the things that you do, other things that you're feeling and whatnot. And there's also tons of books out there, workbooks out there that you can use to help monitor the way that you're feeling, monitoring what you're going through, and they have even cool prompts and stuff like that as well. So that is that's everything that I have on vulnerability.
Well, this has been a great opening episode to the Black Man Heal Say How You Feel,
Yes.
Brother podcast.
Yes.
And we will close out with some resources for you on how you can download the Black Man Heal workbook that includes journaling and some mindfulness exercises that Jarel put together for us. And we will see you next time.
Yes. See y'all.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode brought to you by SOAR. Don't forget to visit our website at soar-nonprofit.org to download the Black Man Heals Workbook, a resource designed to help you dive deeper into your mental health journey with thoughtful prompts and exercises. Embrace the power of vulnerability and keep striving to be the best version of yourself each day. Be sure to join us on our next episode, and until then, take care and stay at peace.